Archangel Michael says, "Someone said your name last night with tears in their eyes. And when heaven allows your name to be spoken like that, trembling, breaking, half prayer, half grief, it means the story is not finished. It means that somewhere, in the quiet ache of the night, a soul remembered you, not with bitterness, but with love that could not die. You felt it, didn't you? The sudden heaviness in your chest, the strange warmth at the hour between waking and sleep, that was the echo of their heart calling your spirit home. The veil between hearts is thin when tears are pure. And when someone speaks your name through tears, heaven listens. Because a name spoken in sorrow becomes a key, unlocking the doors between what is seen and what waits unseen. It travels through the air, through the walls, through time itself, and finds the one it belongs to. Archangel Michael says, "You woke in the middle of the night for no reason, the room silent except for the faint rhythm of your own breath. You couldn't explain why you sat up, why your hand went to your chest, why your heart felt both heavy and whole. That's when you heard it, faint at first, but clear, your name, whispered softly, not in voice but in memory. And in that whisper was love, aching, holy, unbroken. You turned on the light, but the room looked different now, not brighter, just more alive. The air shimmered faintly, like a dream refusing to end. You said, 'Who's there?' But no answer came. Only the silence of something sacred holding its breath. Then a tear, not yours, fell on your hand. It was warm, real, and gone before you could wipe it away. That was the moment you knew, someone, somewhere, was remembering you hard enough to cross the distance between worlds. You could feel their longing, not as pain, but as a pull, a gentle thread drawing you closer to something you thought you'd lost forever. It wasn't haunting. It was homecoming. Type 333 if you've ever felt someone's love reach you through silence. Archangel Michael says, "There are cries that reach no ears, prayers that find no lips, yet heaven still hears them. And sometimes, those prayers come in the form of a name spoken through tears. Your name was carried in that way last night, not to accuse, not to summon, but to heal. Because when one soul forgives, even in silence, both are set free. The one who said your name had carried something, guilt, regret, maybe a love they never spoke, for far too long. They thought you were beyond reach, but heaven bends time for moments like these. It allowed their tears to become light, and that light found you. You didn't dream it. You felt it, because forgiveness has a frequency that only truth can hear." Archangel Michael says, "You might have noticed small signs today, familiar scents with no source, songs you hadn't heard in years, a sudden breeze indoors. These are not coincidences. They are ripples of remembrance. When love is finally spoken after years of silence, the world itself responds. every forgotten thing begins to wake. You think of them now, don't you? The one who said your name. You see their face in your mind, not as they were, but as they were meant to be, softer, lighter, free. They didn't mean to call you back. They meant to set you free. And yet, in doing so, they brought something back to life inside you. Type 777 if you can feel that quiet forgiveness moving through you right now. Archangel Michael says, Heaven allows certain names to echo only when both hearts are ready. It is never too early, never too late, it is divine timing. Last night was such a moment. The tears were not sorrow, they were permission. Permission for peace to return where silence once lived. You walked outside this morning and the sky looked different, didn't it? The clouds seemed softer, the light warmer, the air more forgiving. That is what happens when forgiveness enters the world, it changes the weather of the soul. You are breathing in the proof that love never left, it only waited to be spoken again. You sit quietly now, eyes closed, and say their names softly in return. You expect nothing, but the air hums faintly, warm around you. It is the echo completing itself, their tears reaching you, your whisper reaching them. The circle closes, and what was broken mends in silence. Archangel Michael says, Do you feel it? That soft pulse beneath your ribs, that isn't just a heartbeat. It's recognition. When someone says your name in love, heaven writes it again in light. And every beat afterward becomes an answer, I remember you too. Type 1111 if you believe some goodbyes are really beginnings in disguise. Archangel Michael says, As the day fades, you sit by the window again. You can't see them, but you can sense the peace that now surrounds them, the peace that also surrounds you. You whisper softly, It's all right, and the air seems to sigh, as if releasing a centuries-old breath. You have said goodbye before, but this time, it feels complete. For somewhere beyond your sight, someone is smiling through drying tears. They know you felt them. They know their prayer reached its mark. They know that heaven took their broken whisper and turned it into reunion. And tonight, they sleep without the weight of what was unsaid. Archangel Michael says, You will feel them again, not as ache, not as ghost, but as grace. They will visit in the shape of light across your walls, in laughter that arrives from nowhere, in dreams that end with peace instead of pain. That is how heaven returns what love thought it had lost. Not through sorrow, but through remembrance. One day, years from now, someone will say your name the same way, softly, with tears, with reverence. And when they do, you will be the one who comes near, unseen but smiling, bringing the same peace you feel now. That is the way of love, it never ends, it only travels, from heart to heart, breath to breath, lifetime to lifetime. so rest now. The one who cried your name last night found their peace. And because of that, you have found yours. The bond remains, but the pain is gone. The story is not over, it has simply turned to light. Type 999 if you can feel the peace between worlds, and if you believe that when love speaks your name, heaven always answers. Archangel Michael says, someone said your name last night with tears in their EY. And even though the night has passed, that sound still lingers in the unseen corners of your soul. You didn't hear it with your ears, you felt it, deep inside, where the spirit keeps its oldest memories. That trembling whisper, that aching love that wouldn't stay quiet, it still moves through the air like the echo of a song heaven refused to forget. At first, you thought it was nothing, a dream, a passing sadness, a trick of the heart. But as morning came, the world didn't feel the same. The light outside was softer, more golden, almost compassionate. Even the air seemed to move differently, heavy with the memory of something sacred that had just taken place. You sat at the edge of your bed, your breath slow, your pulse strange, steady but filled with something familiar, recognition. Because you knew that someone, somewhere, had thought of you not as a memory, but as a prayer. And that kind of love doesn't fade with time or distance, it calls, it awakens, it returns. The tears that carried your name had crossed every wall of space and silence to find you. Archangel Michael says, when a heart speaks through tears, it sends out a light, invisible to the eye, but seen perfectly by heaven. Last night, that light reached you. It found the hidden chambers of your heart and opened them like old windows in a forgotten house. That's why you couldn't sleep. That's why your chest ached with both pain and peace. For a moment, you were both the one remembered and the one remembering. You were part of a bridge that connected two souls who never truly separated. That's what tears do when they are honest, they build bridges across eternity. And last night, your name became that bridge. You tried to go about your day, but the signs followed you, whispers, scents, sudden warmth where there should have been none. Everywhere you turned, the world seemed to say, someone still loves you. Someone still forgives you. You found yourself pausing mid-step, listening to something beyond sound, something that pulsed with gentle insistence. That was heaven trying to show you, you are not forgotten. Type 333 if your spirit knows someone has whispered your name in love. Archangel Michael says, sometimes, when heaven wishes to heal two hearts, it doesn't send words, it sends memory. Memory that burns just enough to bring warmth back to places frozen by time. And though the one who said your name cried as they spoke it, those tears weren't sorrow, they were release. They were surrender. They were the beginning of forgiveness. You might have felt their sorrow in your sleep, not as sadness, but as tenderness. The ache that moved through you wasn't grief, it was the sound of healing reaching both of you at once. The moment they said your name, the chain between you broke, not the bond, just the burden. And for the first time in years, heaven saw both your hearts glow at the same moment. Archangel Michael says, there are names that stay locked inside souls, names that carry weight, names that hold promises left unspoken. But when love reaches a point where it can no longer remain silent, heaven opens the mouth of the brave and lets them speak. That's what happened last night. Courage found voice, and truth found tears. Your name was not spoken out of longing alone, it was spoken to free you both. And though the one who spoke it may never know you felt it, heaven does. That's why you woke with peace in your heart, why the air feels lighter today. A reconciliation unseen has already taken place, and its ripples are moving through both your lives. That is how mercy works, quietly, invisibly, completely. Type 777 if you can feel the invisible forgiveness already touching you. Archangel Michael says, later that evening, you found yourself standing by the window, staring at the fading sky. And for the first time in a long time, you whispered their name back. You didn't even plan to, it just slipped out, soft and trembling, like breath remembering what it was made for. And when you said it, something in the room changed. The temperature shifted, not cold, not warm, just alive. The air shimmered faintly, and in that shimmer, a vision flickered, not a body, but a presence. It was them. Not as they were, but as heaven had made them, light, unburdened, whole. You saw no face, but you knew. Love has its own face that no eyes are needed to see. They didn't speak, but you heard their voice anyway, inside your thoughts, gentle as rain. They said, I didn't mean to make you ache. I just needed you to know I still remember. And with those words, everything inside you that had been tight for years finally loosened. You exhaled, long and deep, and when you breathed in again, it was peace you inhaled. Archangel Michael says, that was not imagination. That was grace. Heaven allowed you both to meet, not in flesh, but in the middle ground between hearts, where love never dies. You were meant to remember what love without condition feels like. Because it is that same love that keeps the world from falling apart each night. After they faded, you stood there quietly, the silence filled with gratitude. You looked at your reflection and saw light in your eyes you hadn't seen in years. That's what happens when forgiveness passes through you, it leaves radiance behind. And as you turned off the light, you could almost hear them whisper one last time, thank you. Type 1111 if your soul knows someone you loved is now at peace, and so are you. Archangel Michael says, in the days that followed, your world began to glow with quiet miracles. Strangers smiled at you for no reason. The wind carried voices that sounded like laughter from long ago. Even your shadow felt lighter, softer, as though it had forgiven the weight it used to hold. You realized then that love never disappears, it just changes form. You began to pray differently, not asking for signs or proof, but offering gratitude. Each time you said, "Thank you," the air seemed to hum with invisible wings. Each time you remembered them with kindness, a small warmth bloomed in your chest. You understood, this was the cycle of divine love, to remember, to release, to rise. Archangel Michael says, there will come another night, years from now, when someone else will whisper your name through tears. Not because they are broken, but because your love changed them. And when they do, you will be the one standing beside them unseen, your light the comfort that you were once given. That is how love continues, passed through hearts like a candle flame that never burns out. You are not haunted. You are held. The one who said your name last night was heaven's messenger, wrapped in human pain. Their tears were the rain that washed away the old ache from both your souls. Now all that remains is the gold of memory, and the peace that comes when love finishes its circle. So tonight, when the air grows still again, don't be afraid of the silence. That's not emptiness, it's eternity listening. And if you hear your name again, let your heart answer gently, I remember too. Because love, once spoken, never dies, it only changes voices. Type 999 if you feel that truth blooming quietly in your soul, that every tear shed in love becomes a seed, and tonight, it has finally grown into peace. Archangel Michael says, someone said your name last night with tears in their eyes. And though the dawn has long broken, the echo of that moment has not left the earth. It hums beneath everything, in the stillness of morning, in the hush between breaths, in the space where words fail and hearts speak instead. For love, once spoken through tears, never returns to silence. It travels. It builds. It becomes light too vast to be unseen. You awoke today feeling a strange mixture of sorrow and serenity. It wasn't sadness exactly, it was something softer, wiser. It was the soul remembering that love never ends at goodbye, it only changes its address. And though you couldn't say how you knew, you could feel it. Someone, somewhere, had been thinking of you as though the years between you were only minutes. You looked out your window, and the sky seemed to shimmer with an odd golden tone, as if heaven itself were reflecting that tear. Every sound, a bird's call, the rustle of wind, the hum of morning, felt deliberate, purposeful, connected. You whispered into the stillness, who remembered me? And though no voice answered in words, the air grew warm, and your name seemed to echo faintly back to you, carried by the quiet wind. Archangel Michael says, when love speaks your name through tears, it does not fade. It begins to weave the unseen threads back together. The one who spoke your name last night had been holding it in their heart for years, perhaps lifetimes. Something inside them broke open, not in despair, but in release. Their tears were not of regret, but of awakening. You may not have known it, but for many nights before that, heaven had been preparing this. It had been whispering into their dreams, softening their memory, melting the bitterness they once carried. And last night, when their heart could finally bear the truth, heaven opened the floodgates of grace. That is when your name escaped their lips, trembling, raw, pure, and heaven carried it to you. You felt it as a sudden ache in your chest, a shiver you couldn't explain, a strange warmth in the air around you. Because when souls are tied by love, no distance, no time, not even death can keep them apart forever. When one calls, the other always feels the echo. That's the law of heaven, connection never dies, it only waits to be remembered. Type 333 if your heart knows someone is thinking of you this very moment. Archangel Michael says, the one who spoke your name last night is not who you remember them to be. They have changed, softened, opened, purified by time and tears. They have spent nights remembering not what went wrong, but what was real, the laughter, the moments that once made the whole world glow. And though they once ran from that light, they have returned to it, humbled, grateful, ready. They said your name as both apology and blessing. Because somewhere in the chambers of their heart, they realized that love never asked them to be perfect, only to be honest. And the moment they said it, heaven saw. And heaven, in its mercy, whispered back, now, it's your turn to remember. That's why you woke when you did. That's why your breath caught in your throat, why tears rose without warning. You weren't just remembering, you were answering. Because love, when spoken through tears, becomes a summons. Archangel Michael says, you don't need to reach out, you don't need to chase or speak. The work is already done. Forgiveness does not always require words, sometimes it's just the sound of your soul exhaling after years of holding its breath. And last night, two souls, yours and theirs, finally exhaled together. The world doesn't announce moments like this. There is no thunder, no flash. Just the quiet miracle of heaviness leaving the heart. The divine works in whispers because truth is too holy to shout. And somewhere in the middle of that stillness, you were both healed, quietly, completely, beautifully. Type 777 if you believe love's healing often begins in silence. Archangel Michael says, you went about your day, but everything looked different. Not because the world had changed, but because your eyes finally saw it clearly. The color of the sky was sharper, the light richer, even the smallest sound seemed to carry meaning. Because when peace returns to the heart, the whole world begins to glow in its reflection. You found yourself thinking about them again, but this time it didn't hurt. It felt like gratitude, a deep, calm gratitude that comes when understanding replaces pain. You realized that what once seemed like an ending was only a chapter. The story was never about loss. It was about transformation. That night, you dreamed. You were standing in a field of golden grass that swayed in wind made of light. There was no sky, no horizon, just warmth everywhere. And there, at the far edge of that light, stood a figure, their figure. They were smiling. Not with the smile you remembered from before, but with one that seemed to carry lifetimes of peace. They said nothing, but the air itself spoke for them. I'm all right. You can be too. You tried to step forward, but the light between you shimmered like a river made of stars. You understood then, they were no longer of this world in the same way. They existed now where love never ends, where sorrow can't reach, where truth shines unbroken. And though your heart longed to hold them one last time, the peace in their eyes told you you already had. Type 1111 if you've ever felt someone visit you through a dream of light. Archangel Michael says, you woke from that dream with tears, but not of sadness, of clarity. You sat on the edge of your bed, hands clasped, whispering their name again, this time not in grief but in gratitude. Thank you, you said softly. For remembering me. For letting me feel it. And the air seemed to shimmer in response, not as a sign, but as acknowledgement. For heaven does not need to speak in words when hearts already understand. You felt it then, their presence behind you, gentle as the warmth of morning sun. And though you could not see them, you knew what they were doing. They were smiling. They were free. And now, so were you. You looked around your room and everything felt newly alive. The same old walls, the same clock, the same light filtering through the curtain, all suddenly sacred. Because you realized heaven was never far away. It had always lived in the space where love remembered itself. Archangel Michael says, every time someone says your name with love, living or gone, heaven records it. Every whisper, every memory, every tear that carries your name becomes a note in the song of eternity. And last night, one of those notes found you again. That's why your heart felt full and light all at once, because love was rewriting your story. You will meet them again, one day, but not in the way you expect. It won't be in dreams, or whispers, or signs. It will be in the eyes of someone new, someone who carries the same kindness, the same spark. Because heaven recycles love. It sends it back in new forms so we never forget what it feels like. That's how love never dies, it simply changes faces. Type 444 if you believe love finds new ways to return. Archangel Michael says, time will pass. The ache will fade. But the echo of your name, spoken through tears that healed worlds, will remain forever. For you were not just remembered, you were reconnected. Your name has become part of heaven's melody now, woven into the great song of remembering. You will walk outside someday soon and feel a breeze brush your face, that will be them. You will see light on the water and hear laughter carried in wind, that too will be them. You will sense peace at random moments and not know why, that is how they tell you they're near. And every time it happens, heaven smiles, because another bond has found its way home. Archangel Michael says, when someone says your name with tears in their eyes, it means you left light in their memory. It means love did its work. It means heaven is pleased. Because every name spoken in love becomes a thread that binds heaven and earth. And those threads are what keep the world from falling apart. So if, someday, you feel that same warmth again, that strange ache, that sudden peace, don't fear it. Close your eyes and whisper softly into the stillness, I know. I remember. I love you too. And the wind will answer. And the light will bend gently around you. And heaven will write another line in the story of your name, not in ink, but in light. Because love, once spoken, becomes eternal. And your name, now and always, belongs to eternity. Type 999 if you feel that peace unfolding in your heart, because someone said your name last night, and heaven has never stopped saying it since.